You know what? I'm not going to even do a Welcome to Prostyle podcast on this one. I'm just going to get straight into it because this guy is phenomenal. He is one of the top offensive linemen in the league. He just does it all. He's gritty. He gets down and dirty. But most importantly, he loved the sport. He loved to play the game. He's a 3-time Pro Bowler. He's an All-Pro. He's a high school All-American. Please welcome my man, good friend, Kyle Long. How you doing, bro?
What's going on, Earl? Good morning.
Man, not much. You know, I've been doing a little research on you recently because, you know, I knew you was coming on the show, and you played a little baseball, man.
Yeah, played a little baseball, but you got to be careful going down that rabbit hole now. You don't want to do too much research.
Well, you was a pitcher, a 6'7" pitcher on the mound throwing 90s. How you get started in baseball?
How'd I get started in baseball?
Mm-hmm.
Man, I think baseball was just one of those sports that everybody was doing. When I was born in Los Angeles, and we moved to Virginia when I was 5, and that was like the easiest way to make friends was to be on a t-ball team. And I remember I did t-ball because I didn't have a lot of friends, so I did t-ball, and it was t-ball and then coach pitch, and then from there it just took off. I just loved baseball. I loved hitting the ball, and I love throwing things around. Any opportunity to get, I'd pick stuff up and throw it. And I never really played football until I was like 16, 17.
Oh, wow. So if I had to guess, you was a power hitter.
Yeah, I mean, I probably I was probably more of a contact hitter per se, but, you know, I could hit home runs, but I was always trying to get on base, and I was always trying to steal bases. I just felt like, you know, if you're swinging for the fence every time, if it doesn't work out, then you look stupid. So I was just trying to get on base. Baseball,
football started at 16, but you didn't start at offensive line. You played DN.
Yep. Played defensive line. And I remember when I asked my dad, I said, should I play football? And he kind of looked at me like, you know, you're soft. He was like, he didn't say you're soft, but in so many words, he said, you know, if football's not for everybody.
Right.
He said, you know, we're not all like your older brother, you know, in terms of like mentally. Because Chris, if you've been around my brother, Chris, he's just wired differently. He's like John Rambo without the knife. Like, you know, like imagine a Rambo movie with no weapons. That's Chris every day. And he's just a savage. So he said, here's what we're going to do. You're going to play offensive line. And I said, no. I want to chase the quarterback like you guys. I want to be like you guys.
Yeah.
And, of course, you know, 15 years later, my dad was so spot on with his analysis. He says, You're going to play offensive line. You're going to use your hands. You're not going to, you know, defensive linemen get beat up. You don't want to do that. You want to be beating guys up.
Right.
So I played defensive end, and then, they moved me to nose my senior year. We ran the 5-man front, and, you know, high schools didn't know what to do with 5 linemen, 5 1-on-1, so they couldn't slide to people. And then I played offensive line when my little brother was the quarterback. And that's when it started for me. My little brother was a quarterback. He liked to talk a lot of shit, excuse my language. But, you know, he would start fights that he couldn't finish, and he knew his brother was there for him. And that's how O-line started for me.
Yeah, well, in that household, it had to be tough. You're in a house full of athletes. You know, your dad, Hall of Famer, your brother, one of the top defensive guys in the league, your little brother, quarterback, just a house full of athletes, man. How was growing up in that household? Was it crazy? Like you guys fought a lot, or you guys, you know, just take each other's side and make sure everybody's okay? How did that work?
Well, the one thing, you know, obviously growing up with a dad like ours, our mom's incredible. So I'll get that out of the way. My mom is the best. I mean, everybody with a good mom says their mom's the best. I got a best one too. And that's amazing. And I'm lucky for that. And I know a lot of folks don't have, you know, the home setting like we did, but growing up with the brothers I had was really incredible. And my dad always made sure to say, you don't choose anybody over your brother. If I hear that you chose anybody over your brother, I will come down to that park, you know, and I'll have to whoop your ass myself. Some along those lines. He never had to whoop our ass because we never made the wrong decision in that regard. But Chris was 4 years older than me, so I didn't get to hang out with him as much. But having him around the house, getting to see how he went around about his business, listening to the music that he listened to, I'd steal his Outkast CD or I'd get his Nas CD. I'd come in the room and look at his DMX poster. I'd be like, that's sweet. Like, my brother's cool as shit. And then my little brother and I would just leech off of stuff like that. And my younger brother and I, we just always competed. And then once we found out that we could work together, we got 2 state championships together.
Nice.
He was a heck of a high school quarterback. He kind of had a Manziel kind of style. He's about 6 feet tall. He was a lacrosse All-American, so he could run, and he liked to hit people. He didn't mind taking hits. But growing up in that house, man, ton of sports, and it was the best way for our parents to get us to sleep at night was to just wear us out with athletics during the day.
Yeah. So you end up signing with Florida State out of high school. That didn't work out. You end up going to Saddleback College, and then you transfer to Oregon, play for the Ducks. For me, I like Oregon for one reason, just the sweet uniforms. Man.
Yeah.
Like, it's just so dope. You're going to get sweet unis, super cool Nikes and Jordan. And if Oregon would have recruited me, I probably would have went there just for that reason. Like,
I think your school is pretty good too. And I like y'all's unis a lot as well.
Yeah, no, they're definitely getting a lot better. Back in the day, they were kind of bland and plain, but they stepping it up now. I like what they got going on over there with the unis and the helmets, the matte black. I think
it's not a bad town either.
Yeah, that is very true. Nashville, or some people like to call it Nash Vegas, is really growing. It's blowing up. That real estate is just booming. I looked into buying a condo down there, 2-bedroom.
Yeah, 2-bedroom.
It's about $900K.
Oof.
Yeah.
Oof. See, I'd want to go get a farm. I'd probably end up in Franklin. But back on Oregon. So the thing that I really like about Oregon is you look at the jerseys, you look at the players that come out of there, and there's a lot of great players. When I came there, it was Chip Kelly was the coach, and I really enjoyed him. I know a lot of people have mixed emotions about him or mixed experiences, but my experience with Chip has always been great, and I'll always remember as Chip is the guy that gave me a chance to go to the league. The thing that people don't realize about Oregon is their facilities are as sweet or better than their jersey selection. So you see the jerseys, you see the marketing, the social media, you see the Marcus Mariota, you see, DeAnthony Thomas, all these players, and I just named a few that I played with. But then you get to the university, you see how beautiful the campus is, nice. and then you get to see the facilities, and it's like Area 51, man. It's like this secret operation, and everything is top of the line, and they get top dollar for their facilities, which is great. So shout out Oregon.
Yeah, I used to get mad too because you guys played in the Pac-12. You got USC, UCLA, Stanford. I mean, you guys were pretty much prime time a lot. And then, Vanderbilt, we always fighting to get on TV, right? Like we got a battle with the Georgia, the Florida, the Alabama. You guys pretty much every week you're on television. Talk about that exposure for the program and being able to bring in big-time recruits like yourself.
Yeah, and I think the West Coast thing helps a lot too. Like being on the East Coast, y'all's noon game is a noon game for pretty much everybody.
Right.
So people are going to wake up, go get breakfast. They're going to get home, and it's going to be, start of the game or end of the second quarter for you guys. Like people are hanging out all day. They've watched their games, and then, let's see what's on at 8:00 on the East Coast. USC, Oregon. I guess we're all going to watch this.
Yeah.
And that's the nice thing about having the West Coast. It also kind of sucks because when you're on the West Coast, you feel like you're in another world, in terms of time zones. I grew up on the East Coast, so that's what I knew. I have to subtract by 3 every time I think about what time the games are.
Yeah,
but it's nice, You guys didn't have a bunch of night games at Vanderbilt?
No, we didn't have a bunch of night games at Vanderbilt. We actually struggled to have night games, and that's because we weren't very good at the time. But as we began to get more competitive, we started to, be slotted in some of those later games. But the night games are fun, man. Like in college, that's what you live for. You want to play under the lights. Whereas, the first couple of games that we played, I think were daytime games, but then we started winning. Jay was a quarterback, especially my freshman year. They started putting us on night games and sliding us. But we didn't do too well. Now, I'm not going to lie. We ended up playing Georgia and LSU like back-to-back under the lights, and things just didn't go as well.
Man, seeing some of the guys that come out of those schools, I mean, we got Roquan Smith now, and, you know, I know that he's just one of a dozen guys from Georgia who are on that level of football player. You know, you get guys from Alabama, Eddie Jackson.
Yeah, it's
unbelievable. The guys that Vanderbilt competes with and the academic standards that Vanderbilt is held to.
Right.
And then you see the Alabamas, the Georgias, the Floridas. You know, I know Trey Burton will beat me up for saying the Florida comment, but you know, it's incredible that Vanderbilt is in that conference, and now they're working their way up to being competitive. And same thing with Kentucky as well. Yeah. I got to hear from Danny Trevathan all the time about Kentucky, and they're the next LSU. And but yeah, SEC is crazy, and I feel like the Pac-12 is kind of it's a tiered system. You know, Washington State is never going to be the best. Arizona will never be the best. They may have a year where they have a guy, but it's always going to be Oregon. It's always going to be USC. It's always going to be, you know, the teams that you hear about.
Yeah. So you leave Oregon and you get drafted 20th overall. All right. I'm in Chicago. I'm just going to be honest. We just got a new regime with Mark Trestman trying to figure out what the hell is going on. Guys we have coming in here to coach us. And they announced the pick is Kyle Long coming to Chicago. Most of us do our research was like, oh, okay, cool. We getting Kyle Long. This guy looks like a real gritty guy, like somebody that's just going to battle and just want to fight, you know? Like, I like guys that just want to fight, right?
Yeah.
So, and we're all looking, and then you start reading the media. They talk about, oh, he only started 1 year. He just recently switched over to the position. So there were a lot of, you know, people really trying to figure out would Kyle Long be productive in the NFL as an offensive lineman. Talk about living up to those expectations.
Well, I feel like Phil Emery took a chance on me, and they made it clear to me that they needed a guy that could protect the quarterback because, as you know, our quarterback was under fire physically and verbally in Chicago for a long time and took a lot of hits. And I remember when I went in on my visit, the offensive line coach there, Aaron Cromer for the Bears at the time, I sit down in his office and he literally just turns the screen on and it's Ndamukong Suh just ragdolling people. He's got just a compilation of Suh just ragdolling people. And I'm like, I look at him, I look at the screen, I look at him, I look at the screen. I said, what is this? And he said, this is why we want you here. He was like, because there's a bunch of these guys.
Right.
And I said, shit, sign me up. And then, you know, you don't know if you can do it, but you know you're going to give it your best shot.
Right.
And when they drafted me, I was shocked. You know, I was shocked to be drafted in the first round. I was told I was going to be a third-round guy, maybe second if we got lucky.
Gotcha.
And I got drafted, and, you know, I was so lucky to get drafted by Chicago because of the fact that, you know, you've played here. Everything about Chicago is true. Right. Everything you hear about Chicago is true. It's an amazing city. The fans are awesome. The tradition. You know, I'm looking at the jersey behind you, and it's just some great Sundays that I've had with my boys. Yeah. And, you know, but yeah, getting drafted and having the expectations of being a first-round pick. I remember we were in my rookie year, and I couldn't do OTAs because of the quarter system.
Yep. I remember.
You remember that?
I remember.
I couldn't do OTAs because of the quarter system, and they said he's finishing school. I was in Los Angeles training in jiu-jitsu with Randy Couture and Chuck Liddell during the spring. I would wake up at 5 in the morning, and I would have the O-line coach FaceTime from the front of the meeting so I could see the board. Nice. And I didn't know what was on the board or what the hell they were talking about, but I was in the meeting. You know, I was in that meeting. I didn't know what the fuck they were talking about.
Well, I mean, you exceeded expectations. I mean, 3 Pro Bowls, all pro. You know, the jury was out. A lot of guys didn't know what to expect.
Well, I got to tell you this Charles Tillman story. I got to tell you 2 Tillman stories in one. So I get to training camp, and training camp is the first time I'm there. Like, oh my God, that's Matt Forte, or that's Jay Cutler. He's giving me the side eye. Like, I think he hates me. So I show up, and the first thing that I've always been told is just don't take any shit from anybody. Keep your nose clean. My dad always says, walk a mile around an altercation, but never back down from a fight. Yeah. And we get to camp, and it is popping. It is popping. I'm third string. The third string group is like – it's like that Anchorman scene where they're in the back alley and everybody's got their weapons. Yeah. That's what the third string in training camp is like. It's like people are fighting for their lives, and I was too. And I ended up getting a second string, and then the guy ahead of me, James Brown, he was a physical specimen freak show. Mm-hmm. He went the wrong way in a preseason game, and they moved me to first string. But the week before that, they had me run a couple reps with the ones. And my first rep with the ones, it was right there in front of the bleachers with all the fans over there on the far field by the water tower in Bourbonnais. First play, Jay did a hard count. Said, "Ah!" And I jumped. And Charles Tillman, give them their money back. From the defensive back position. And I'll never forget people say, I don't remember what they said, but I remember how I felt. Right. I was crushed. In that moment, I thought that I'd never earn the respect back. But I think we had like an 8-play drive. It was like a 2-minute drive. And then I think Garza and I just dumped somebody in the end zone on a running play, and we scored. And that's when I was like, okay, just all you got to do is play, Kyle. Just play. Figure it out. And the guys rallied around me. Roberto Garza, Matt Slauson, Jermon Bushrod. Yep. The list goes on and on and on. Jordan Mills was another rookie that was with me that I was extremely close with when we played together. Forte, Jay was always great to me. And sometimes I thought he hated me, but he was always good to me. And he'd always call me on my bullshit, which is something that everybody needs. Yeah. And I remember hanging out with you guys, man. The receivers were always cool. And we hated the defense. Briggs and Charles always made fun of me. It was great. Rookie year was awesome. Yeah, they make fun of a lot of people. So there's 2 linemen that I thoroughly enjoyed playing with. I'm just being honest. I'm not being biased or anything. There's 2 linemen. First is Olin Kreutz. Okay. Olin Kreutz used to give me crap my rookie year. I walked by him in the hall and literally looked the other way just so he wouldn't say anything. But he would say something. Although I looked away, he still was going to say something. But I ended up earning his respect my second year in the league. And literally he was like, I'll go to war with you any day. And that is a tough SOB. That guy worked his butt off, and I really enjoyed playing with him. So I was like, you know what? Let's see if I can find another lineman like that. Then we draft Kyle. I'll never forget your I think it was the first preseason game you were playing in, and we ran into each other in the hallway, and you were just like, dude, I'm just ready to play. And I was like, Kyle, come on, man. We got some time before we hit the field. But you were just like so hyped and so excited to be playing in the league. And then once we got on that field, man, you were just cracking skulls. You were excited to be out there. You was always pumped, always excited. So I wonder, what would it be like if Olin Kreutz and Kyle Long lined up next to each other? We've talked about it. Olin and I have. And, I respect your choice of Olin because, man, everything you said about him is true. He should be in the Hall of Fame. Oh, and sure. The football stuff his football film is incredible because my current O-line coach was his coach at a certain point in his career. So we look back at the film, and it's Garza, it's Reuben Brown, it's Olin Kreutz, and he comes by every once in a while and he works with the offensive line, and it's just incredible to see him. And he's so passionate about the game, and you can just tell that he was and still is one of the baddest men to walk the earth. Right. And nobody messed with Olin. And he earned the respect. Yeah. Oh, yeah. He definitely earned the respect. And nobody – I got
countless of Olin stories that, petrified me, but it also made me grateful that he was on my team. So I was always happy. So let's switch gears a little bit because Prostyle looks at the symmetry between hip hop and sports.
Okay.
And I know you love some music, man.
I do. I really enjoy music.
You got a guitar in the background. What's on your playlist right now?
Oh, man. Well, I've been kind of doing my curating thing right now. I've been on the Spotify getting a couple of my playlists ready for the spring, the OTAs.
Nice.
And, with the offensive line section in the locker room, I got Cody Whitehair next to me, and he's an actual farmer from Kansas. So I've been doing the motif has been farming songs.
Gotcha.
And I've been doing a bunch of country songs, and I think I might have to put Old Town Road on there too.
That's funny. So who's your favorite hip hop artist?
My favorite hip hop artist. It's transitioned over the years. It was Talib Kweli at a certain point. When I was in high school, junior high, that was like my first real conscious rap CD.
Yeah.
Obviously over the years, my respect for Kanye West's talent is like on another level.
Yeah.
I think he's kind of a weirdo, but a lot of musicians are.
Mm-hmm.
I like Dom Kennedy when he makes music.
Yeah.
I listen to it. You know what I'm saying? Like sometimes he just be chilling in California, like put the blunt down for a minute and just get back in the studio.
Yeah.
Currency is amazing. Nice. I love Currency.
Yeah. It's better.
Crit. I like a lot of the Southern rappers.
Nice.
And then my favorite rapper is Action Brunson. And
Action Brunson.
Action Brunson.
Show too, by the way, man.
Bro, he's all around the best. Like,
that's delicious. That's a pretty unique show. I love watching it. I will say that.
So I guess he was a sous chef at like a really nice restaurant in New York. He was also a power lifter, and then he blew his back out. So he started just smoking a bunch of weed and became a chef, and now he just raps.
I mean, isn't he the most incredible guy that you ever like hear stories about? Like,
yeah, and he makes great music. He really does.
Yeah, for sure. So what was the last hip hop concert you actually went to? Because when I was in Chicago, I mean, concerts just happened every single week. I went to Beyonce, Jay-Z, Kanye West. I think I saw Beyonce like 3 times in the span of 2 weeks.
So I went and saw Action actually at the House of Blues. Ooh. And it was right when he came out with his last CD, and we were me and my buddy just went, and we were like, we're just gonna go and we're gonna be like, we're going to do it up big. And I remember we were like hanging out in the foundation room, and then we got a balcony suite.
Yeah.
And we shared it with a couple of producers of some guys that were also performing. They were from Chicago, so they were like opening for him. Mm-hmm. And I remember when he came out and the guitar started on my favorite song, like he was looking around, and I'm like, because I had tweeted that I was going to his show. He was looking around, and then all of a sudden he jumped onto the floor at the House of Blues and worked his way through the crowd as the guitar was going. He walked up the back stairs into our suite.
Wow.
And he like threw his arm around me and was like singing the song with me. And I was like, this might be the peak of my life. Like,
yo, that is sick. I don't have a story like that. I don't think anybody that's been on this podcast have had a story like that. I mean,
I got so much love for Action Brunson because he knows how big of a fan I am.
I mean, he actually found you though. Like,
yeah, and I saw him looking around. I thought he was just like being. I thought he was like sketched out by something, and then like he found me, and he was like mid song, like 3 songs before, he was like, "I see you up there, you big bald bastard."
Yeah, it was intentional. He was looking for you. He came and found you. And so that's love, man. That is really love. So what's the symmetry that you see between hip hop and sports? Because some guys come on here, they talk about the competition. In sports you have, rivalries. In hip hop you have beef where guys just go at it. But at the end of the day, it's all love.
I think it's the respect because like when I sit in the offensive line film room and I watch a guy like, let's say, a Joe Thomas that everybody knows, I can say, there's two ways to go about it. The first one is I love what he does.
Right.
And he can do this. He can do this. You know, it's his melody. It's the way his voice inflects. Like, I'm just trying to compare it to music. But there's a million things you can look at and compare between your style, his method, your method. And I think that kind of is the same way in music, where you can either hate somebody or you can love them.
Right.
And you can kind of hate them and kind of love them at the same time. And, yeah, music's like that. And I think that the more that guys can draw from one another and appreciate one another's work.
Yep.
Like, I always think about what would happen if Tupac and Biggie had really vibed.
Ooh. That would have been dope.
So, like, there's certain guys from even the Packers that we're supposed to hate and never talk to. Like, there's certain guys that I can contact and say, hey, what did you see from this Lions player? What did you see from this guy from the Vikings? How did you approach it? Like, I see you doing this on film.
Yeah.
What are you thinking? And I think musical folks do the same thing.
Right.
With, you know, they'll send each other something and be like, what do you think about this?
Right.
And I think the more of that there is, the more constructive as opposed to destructive, the better off this freaking world's going to be.
Right. And that is well said, because when you look at sports and how players really appreciate each other, there's a high level of respect, especially in the hip hop game. I mean, that new song Middle Child by J. Cole, he speaks about coexisting with other great artists such as like Drake, you know, Jay-Z and some of those guys. So it's always good to know that you respect the guys that you're competing against, because at the end of the day, we're all human. We're doing what we love, and it's just all fun, man.
And we're so lucky to be doing what we love.
Yeah. So lucky. 1%, right?
Yeah.
1% of guys is playing in the NFL. I'm not sure what the percentage is when it comes to like hip hop artists, but I'm pretty sure it's slim, because there's a lot of guys where I'm from that think they rap, but you know, they really aren't rapping.
They're just talking.
Yeah, but they try. And I think for us, it's just being appreciative to being in the space that we're in. But Kyle, man, this has been fun, man. Like this.
Yeah, this is good. We got to do this again, man.
Yeah, we got to do this again. How can
I have some funny stories about our guys, but I'll save it for the next installation.
Yeah. Save that. We'll say that story time with Kyle. I
got Pep. I got Briggs. I got Peanut. I got Forte.
Nice.
Oh, I got stories for you.
Yo, we'll do a story time with Kyle on the next Prostyle Podcast. How can the people follow you on social media?
So my Twitter is, you can just search Kyle Long, and it's a 1 in the Kyle for the L. It's kind of stupid. I guess there's another Kyle Long out there. And then on Instagram, it's just Kyle Long 75, man.
Nice, man. Well, hey, best of luck this season. I'll see you again on the podcast. And
absolutely.
I appreciate you for rocking out with Prostyle, bro.
Absolutely. Thanks, Earl.
Yes, sir.